Do these two songs sound like they're related?
But it was just my imagination. Can this be real? This love is in my heart.
I'd say so. How about these?
You ain't nothing but a hound dog, you're crying all the time.
A bit trickier, but the answer's still yes. Elvis played a part in the creation of rock and roll. Now, do these songs sound like they're related? Believe it or not, these are actually more closely related than you probably think. I'll start as far back as I'm able to. I'm not an expert on jazz or early 20th century music in general, but I do have some idea of how it's influenced hip-hop. Jazz rap is a whole subgenre of its own. What I'm more interested in, though, isn't when jazz is sampled, but rather how it influences beat-making techniques. I could get right to explaining this, but I think it's better if I just show you what I mean. This is called swing. What Dilla's doing here is playing his drums off the grid. Where most music is broken up into even intervals, Dilla made an effort to avoid this, inspired by swing jazz. Listen to the difference it makes. Most music follows a 4/4 time signature. A 4/4 song can be broken up into a series of 4-beat measures. 3/4 music, on the other hand, has 3 beats in each measure. Sometimes Dilla played a sample straight and programmed the swing into his drums. But Dilla was also well known for flipping 3/4 samples into 4/4 beats, which leaves you with a crazy swing on the sample itself. My favorite example of this is the last beat he made before he passed. Around the same time Dilla was doing all this, you also have Madlib. Madlib was also big into jazz, and every type of music ever created. In 2003, he actually worked with the legendary jazz label Blue Note Records to sample a whole bunch of old Blue Note stuff for his album Shades of Blue. And that's where you get this track, which again has some pretty crazy swing to the drums. So far, we have this for our swing family tree. I think it's already pretty interesting, but it gets weirder. Those synths don't quite sound like Dilla to me, but the drums definitely do. Not only is the swing there, it's also got some textural similarities. Listen to these side by side. The drums are super punchy and overcompressed. What they've done to get this sound is basically make the loud parts quiet and the quiet parts loud. So you go from this to this. Flying Lotus is a big Dilla fan. He made this tribute, again with classic Dilla drums, after his passing. And you also have other tracks that go off in all sorts of crazy directions, but still have some of the off-the-grid rhythms that Dilla used to have.
Hold up, I bet she thinking that we did.
My favorite artist, Flume, listed that last track when asked about records that changed his life. And as a matter of fact, he specifically said this: I stumbled across some J Dilla, and then from J Dilla, it went to Flying Lotus, and I went through his whole discography. So believe me when I say I'm not completely making up this family tree. When you hear the name Flume, most of you probably think of songs like this. Or this. Or this. And okay, I'll admit there's not the slightest bit of J Dilla here. I mean, listen to this. Well, hold on. Okay, he's swinging his drums like crazy here, and there are all sorts of weird rhythmic variations on the synths. This is Dilla influence, and I can prove it.
I think this is when I kind of realized that you can just play straight synth, like straight chords is one thing, but if you mess with the rhythm of the chords, it becomes more interesting. And then if you mess with the rhythm of the chords to the point that they don't make sense, like they're kind of out off the grid, as long as the drums are in time, then it can create like a really cool kind of bouncing sound. Yeah, I mean, I was listening to a lot of like Flying Lotus and like Dilla and stuff. I couldn't believe like, oh, you can do music that's not perfectly in time. That's cool.
People sometimes refer to this family of music as wonky. It spans a few different genres, but it generally has off-grid rhythms and experimental sound design. Flume dipped his toes into wonky a few times early in his career. On Skin, the closest thing to wonky is probably the track called 3. Then he got burnt out on touring, meeting deadlines, and trying to appeal to the masses. He kind of went off the grid himself after Skin before returning with my favorite project.
Hi, this is Flume.
Everything on here is completely chaotic, with melodies that could really only be written on a computer. This guy is crazy. On some songs, he wrote in these insane MIDI patterns by hand. But he also used something called granular synthesis. Basically, he takes a sample, his computer breaks it up into little pieces, then those pieces are played back with a bit of variation in their ordering and length. So you can take a sample like this.
All damn time we was loving undercover, yeah. Don't you know that kills me inside?
And make it into this. This can also sound really cool when applied to drums. When you use granular synthesis, you're taking a sample that might originally be played straight, and you're introducing all these tiny rhythmic variations to it. You technically could do this by hand, but it would be a huge headache. So basically, this is a completely new way for Flume to take his music off the grid. Here are a few more especially wonky Flume tracks since his 2019 renaissance. Basically, everything he's released the past few years could fit in here for one reason or another, but in the interest of time, I won't force you to sit here and listen to an hour and a half of music. I do want to take a second to acknowledge that these are by no means the only artists to make music like this. You've got electronic stuff like this. But then you also have the modern offshoots of lo-fi hip-hop.
Again, try again. Do it all, try again. Oh, nigga, again, try again. You ain't win, you ain't shit. Yeah, try.
Get all that malice out your soul, the efficacy strong. I finished what I start. The funeral was hella long. I fell asleep, the effigy was short.
Sometimes shit seem out of reach, but when it do, I look down. See the glass on the ring, you look close, you can really see it pass on repeat. Tracing every step back like I'm dragging my feet. You should get to know me.
Whether directly or indirectly, I'd argue Dilla played at least some small role in influencing all of it. You can only really understand the legacies of artists like Duke Ellington and J Dilla when you start looking off the grid.